self-disciplined and severely moral. Brave, somber, solemn, without excess, luxury, or ease. Severely simple.
Stop there. Do you know how many of those meanings are applicable to this poem? So this idea of severe is a very limited, but it's a very good choice of word there, austere. Because look at the description of the father's actions. This is an example of a word that really actually sums up that lack of frills, that lack of emotion, that lack of those outward expectations that you expect or you may want from a parental figure. Now, your idea of a relation, the word relationship already suggests something that is the opposite of lowly, opposite, all right, even of austere, because especially if it's relationship between father and son, there are cliches, there are these kind of universal expectations of warm fuzziness, right? But the poem doesn't present you with that. The poem, in fact, ends with the child, now the man, reaching a realization. And what is that realization that the man has reached? What is the realization? He says, you know, what did I know? What did I know? That repetition itself serves to emphasize his ignorance, the tense, his ignorance when he was a child of what?
The father's love.
Of the father's love. Why? Because as a child, what do you think a father's love, what is the expectation? It's certainly not going to be in austereness, holiness, right? So, what does he realize in adulthood? What does he realize in adulthood?
His father was underappreciated.
More than that, what does he realize about his father?
He was unable to.
The father loved him. How was this love manifested? How was this love manifested? And in fact, that ignorance, ignorance of the child. Where is he? Oh, be clear. You told me the actual MSA paragraph. I don't have that anyway. What is in that last stanza? What suggests the child's ignorance? Not speaking indifferently. Because what does the word speaking, when you speak to someone, what is that? That is interaction. So a relationship, all right, is suggested, the nature of their relationship is suggested by the indifferent speech. But the lines, the second and third line of that last stanza, what is he giving an example of? Examples of his father's love. Now, what does that make, therefore, the first two stanzas? That portrayal of her, which most of you, all right, how many of you have got, oh, he's hardworking, he's sacrificial, he's got all these characteristics. How many of you have words like that in it? Yeah, but what have you? You need to link it to what it actually shows. Okay, now, first thing, therefore, if you have to rethink the OI that you have written, my first question way back has not been answered. How many of you looking at your OI, there is an idea there, or is it a description? How many of you think you only have a description? So the three of you think you have an idea, is it?
I think I have an idea, but I think the idea is very not. It's not answering the question. It doesn't answer the question.
What is your OI?
Familiar love may not be as unconditional as it is made out to be.
It has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
question. The question is the portrayal of the father. It's not just, there's nothing to do with the question, firstly, there are several things there. It's the language and the register that you use, which is no, look, you're forgetting, this is supposed to be formal writing. Repeat what you were saying.
Familiar love may not be as unconditional as it is made out to be.
Familial love. My problem with that is, okay, you're being asked about the father, not about the son, per se. Focus to the question. Alright? Conditionality. I would suggest that the father's love is unconditional. Why? Does he allow personal discomfort? Does he, personal discomfort presented in two ways? What are the two ways personal discomfort is presented? Oh, three ways. Cracked hands, what else? Got up Sundays, what else?
It's cold.
That's more than cold.
It's blue-black.
How the degree of cold is manifested in the image. Blue-black cold. Please don't deal with individual words. Your image there is of the cold. You're being told something about the nature of cold. Blue-black condition is what conditions the cold. It suggests that it is so cold, it is painful, it causes bruises. So many of you, this is in your development, your analysis is not even analysis because you talk about an image, but actually you're not dealing with image. We have to be told something about something else. So the image is blue-black cold, it's not blue-black. You're right, that's an adjective. But if you're asked to describe writer's use of language, err on the side, please, of dealing with imagery, metaphor, simile, and other phrases, and not just individual words. Oh yeah, sometimes individual words do count. So, for example, lonely officers. Okay, I wouldn't quite call that an image, so I would there explore the word lonely and the word austere that gives you that insight to. And by the way, officers there, while it is a word that suggests something less than sort of adds to the idea of formality, because the word office is not something that we use in conjunction with family. What does officers mean though? It literally means officers, yeah, but does it mean that here? So what does the word officers mean here? How do you explain the word officers? No, can you guess? Does that make sense? Okay, don't guess. Think logically. Is officers being used here as, it's used as a noun? Correct? Now, does the idea of distance fit in? Yes, it does. But isn't the idea of distance already suggested by austere and lonely? So what is it? Lonely, loneliness? So what does the word officers?
It's enclosed. So
Look up please, don't guess. Or if you're going to guess, at least embed your guessing in context. to hold the office of the idea of position, the responsibility of. Thank you. It is the correct usage there. The rest of you guessing, I don't even care if Jessie looked it up because she's on the right track. If you are in doubt, look it up. Do not be so arrogant as to presume you know the meaning of something. Huh? Because the use of the word office here should have already told you it's not actually being used as I think I understand it. Now, when we look at that then, the other two stanzas, you are being given examples. So, if you have to rethink, go back to my question, what do you want to say? What's the idea? About what idea arises about the portrayal of the father? At what you have written, how would you turn what you have written into an OI? You know what's happening here? What's happening here is cowardice. Everyone's waiting for somebody else to start. Offer, it's going, let it not be me, let somebody else start. And you know what's happening? Therefore, we don't move forward. It's just this heavy silence that falls as we wait for each other, or rather as you all wait for each other. I don't care, because it gives me a much needed respite from the day that I have had. But if you all don't care about, or you're that cowardly and you're willing to take the, what's the word? It's an opportunity cost that you're willing to take. The opportunity cost of my cowardice will be that we move very slowly. So be it. Okay, one word answers, not acceptable. I've said that before. Alright? I've asked for an OI, therefore, and there's a double reason for it. It's not meant to torture you, but you need to express the idea. One word does not an idea make. Yes?
I think that the idea is that there's this distant relationship. It's a distant love. Like he loves, the father
that or refine that?
So like in the first two stanzas,
You're going to be careful. I don't need you to substantiate yet. What I want is your OI. And please note, I have not shot you down, and I haven't shot you down for a reason. It's because you need to refine it. But what you're saying is going to give me the opportunity to make a point. And it's not a point that undermines you, by the way. It's a point that actually elevates you. So far you said two things, okay? You said that the first had to do with the father. What did you say about the father?
that he loves him he loves the son.
Okay, loves the persona from distance, badly expressed, but there's a kernel of it, and the other?
That the persona doesn't realize it.
The persona doesn't realize it. Actually, I don't disagree with you, because what the poem in the end presents, if you think about it, is summed up in the last two lines. That is the idea of that. Isn't that the idea in terms of the portrayal of the father, that love does not necessarily, is not necessarily expressed in warm, fuzzy actions? More than that, is also that very often we do not understand the way in which love is expressed. I use the word need, which should not be used, but essentially what the persona realizes in adulthood is that love is not expressed necessarily in cliched ways or in the more obvious ways. The portrayal of the father therefore speaks in the end to this realization of the son, which is at the same time an acknowledgement of the father, of the father's love, of the sacrifice of the father. That realization therefore elevates the father. It is a realization that comes later. But that he deserves it is manifested already in how the father is described in the first two. And so that idea of that sacrifice that is talked about in relation to the suffering that we talked about just now. So when you look at your OI, please take note, it's a twofer, okay? What he's come up with is a twofer. The portrayal of the father has told us something about the son. And what he's told us about the son has told us something about, or rather the nature of the son, of the son's realization. Tells us something about the nature of paternal love and how it may be expressed. Familial and paternal. Jesse used the word familial. Correct. You also used the word familial. But why is paternal better?
It's more specific.
Exactly. And that's something that you all are very poor at the moment. Your language is very inexact. We're not being presented with a family here. We're being presented with a father and the persona, his son. So, paternal. It's not the whole family. So it's more exact. It's more accurate. Now look at, now of course there is a problem, right? If your OI is in the first place flawed, that suggests that your first paragraph and your first point could possibly be inaccurate. I want you to now look at that checklist and look at your paragraph. And by the way, I do want you to identify, you should be writing next to it what that part of the whole is. Not simply highlighting and okay, now what I'm seeing, you seem to be suggesting there is nothing, none of the parts. What do you understand about highlighting? Highlight the relevant section. Don't just make these mingy little Alright, you should have finished. Nathan, look at yours. Do you have all the parts? What do you lack? The analysis. If you lack the device, you don't have any analysis. Analysis consists of 3 parts. So within that also, alright, I don't see how you can do effect and significance if you don't have device. Most of you have device, not even correct. Like I said, the example being blue-black, just adjective instead of the focus, but the effect. How would you analyze the image blue-black fold? Okay, so it's an image, but what is the effect and what is the significance? I want you to think about it for a moment. I'm coming back to it. Sherry, do you have all the parts? Do you have all the parts? Shafika, do you?
Under autobias.
But have you actually analyzed, or are you just, please, identify means, okay, show me your, what is it that you consider effect?
The blue-black coat reflects the pain.
Reflects the pain. How does it reflect the pain? So you jump to pain, okay, but how is that an effect? The pain is linked to the significance. And it's the pain of what? Pain of what?
I just wrote that the pain at the front, that the
Yeah, so guess what? The pain is not linked to any point, alright? Even then, how does blue-black jump to pain? Jen, do you have any analysis?
I wrote a similar point in the sense that I wrote the image of a bruise and then I jumped straight to endured pain or discomfort.
I can tell you straight out that not one of you actually had analysis. You had paraphrase, you had assertion, and even paraphrase, but the three parts, effect. What do you understand by the word effect? So the impression that's created, yes. So the impression of the feeling, or yes. And that impression leads you to something. In your instance, it's lacking because you have to talk about how the image of the blue black hole creates the impression of a bitter, painful temperature, whatever. But what is the purpose of that? That's the significance. That therefore feeds into the idea of the father's endurance or the father's self-sacrifice. But it's a bridge. Effect is a bridge to significance. Most of you don't have that. So, no analysis. Analysis is the backbone of your development. But is there a development? Are you telling us more about the idea? Sarah, what was the idea of your passage? Okay, even if I give it to you, that's yours, huh? Alright. Now, tell me. Okay, to me, I see them as the same thing. Selfless needs above his own. Okay, but how do you extend that idea? Tell me more about that selflessness. So, in other words, when you're looking at it, that's your idea. You have to be telling me more. You have to be telling me more. Not repeating selfless, 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 do you understand? Or placing needs above the own. The nature of that selflessness, maybe endurance, yes. Willing to suffer pain, you're telling me more. Do you have more? All of you should be looking. Are you, in your paragraph, telling me more about your point? Are you extending it? Rachel, don't fall asleep. You have no business to be falling asleep this time. Do you? No, give me an example. Okay, of it. So tell me, what does that show? So you talk about, okay, you talk about, you're saying it's, what was it, selfless, right? So, you wake up, that's just a description. But it's the idea of maybe he would sacrifice. Sacrifice what? What is the significance of Sunday, whatever. So, selflessness manifested in a sense of sacrifice, a sense of endurance. Do you understand? You're telling me more about it. Most of you do not. Yeah, you may be describing, but you're drawing more from. Is that you, Rajini? Breaking your foot and then your. You understand what I'm saying? Most of you don't. You repeat the idea, you repeat the idea, you repeat the idea, but you don't extend the idea. There's a difference. Extending the idea is telling me more. Now, that also, by the way, suggests something else about how you all just did this exercise. You're not looking at, you say, oh yeah, I've got it, but actually have you? You're not thinking clearly about whether just, oh yeah, I mentioned the device. Makes sense relative to what the whole effect of the analysis is supposed to be. You're not connecting. So please take note. I see you Tuesday, Wednesday, and then again on Friday. You are going to be doing an essay for Duchess of Malfi, but I will give you the PDQ only after next Friday. You will be doing, so next week, first 2 lessons is going to be unseen. I want to finish off those winter Sundays because we haven't, and what you are going to do is you are going to look at it and you're going to come up with ideas that would have made for a full essay. And you are going to provide me with, this is for Tuesday, and you are going to provide me with your substantiation. In other words, it's your analysis. That's your evidence. Other comments that I have about that those paragraphs is, please take note when you come up with those ideas, there has to be a logic to those ideas. This is something almost all of you didn't do, as I mentioned yesterday. The end of your paragraph gives me no sense of what your next point is. Which, by the way, if you look at the elements that make up the body paragraph, something that you all feel to do, because that's what we expect. Yes? And there has to be a clear link back to your overarching idea. Now, this exercise should show you very clearly how you have embarked on your corrections in a very unthinking manner. Because you're making the same mistakes. From exercise to exercise to exercise to exercise. And I'm talking about from those paragraphs from Blackberry numbers, or even the paragraphs you did on Duchess of Malfi. Now, it either means you really cannot see what is required, and if that is the case, then why haven't you asked? Why haven't you clarified? Why haven't you come for consultation? Or it suggests, as I said, an arrogance or a laziness, either both unacceptable in terms of how you approach your work. And with that, I bid you adieu. Please remind Ben that I expect to see his MC for today, and he still owes me an MC for Thursday, which is when his assignment was due and was not given. And if I do not get it tomorrow, he will be in even more trouble than he already is. Actually, forget it. That's being unfair to you, because why should you have to remind Ben of what he should know of? So seriously, I mean, of course, I can't stop you now if you want to help him, but I want to point out that if you have to keep reminding him about things that he ought to know, you're really not helping him in the long run.
Amazing.
Huh?
I'm amazing.
You are
Why?